There was a high, oak-beamed roof, and many stained-glass windows which cast a benevolent light. There were more portraits, and numerous crests lining the walls. The bencher's table was on a dais, with a minstrel's gallery that ran above. There were many other tables, all shining with silver cutlery and crystal glasses. Tom felt he was a long way from Burke's refectory at Four Counties University, let alone his mum's lasagna and apple pie. His stomach was still in a churn. He stepped up to the dais and sat between Giles and Nat, with Mouse at Nat's right hand. Becca entered and took the other place beside Giles. Sarah Shaw was further along the table. Across the rest of the hall were other members of the inn. Everyone rose as the benchers entered. They included Langbourne and Singh. At the head of the procession was a tall, white-haired, red-faced man Tom supposed was the treasurer. He was heading for the central chair, which had arms and mountings like a throne. Everyone else bowed to the benchers, and Tom hastily did the same. Nat looked slightly amused. The bow was returned, then the treasurer waved his hands to indicate that everyone could sit down. A small fat chaplain then rose and said a Latin grace. Tom had no idea what he was praying, but said Amen with the rest. He had never been to a dinner quite like this before. The waiting staff brought melon cocktails with mango sorbet, a thick soup flavoured with sherry and cream, breasts of chicken with mushroom sauce, and a chocolate and walnut cake with more cream. There were bottles of red and white wine on every table. Tom had now switched to red. A pretty dark-haired young waitress was constantly on hand to refill his glass, and kept saying, "A little more, sir," in what sounded like a Polish accent. Tom smiled at her. He was feeling much better now. So what was a moot, with its silly names and boring law? The stained-glass windows seemed to be shining more brightly. Their biblical scenes were really beautiful. And so was Becca. He could have lost himself forever in those big brown eyes, and that honeyed voice was sweeter than anything Friar's Inn could offer for dessert. She had a way of brushing back her big hair, following up with a sudden smile, which was quite adorable. Giles and the benchers seemed to be enjoying her company. He felt a pang of self-pity that none of the diners was talking to him. He squirmed suddenly. He still hadn't been to the loo, and all that wine was catching up with him. He had to go, now. He started to rise. "Hang on," Giles turned to him. "Where are you off to?" Tom muttered something about the toilet. "Sorry, old man." Giles gave him a sympathetic look. "No one leaves hall while dinner's being served. It's another tradition. You should have gone before you came." Tom wriggled. "Oh, dear, you're urgent, aren't you?" Giles leaned along the table. "Sorry, Sarah. Tom's in need of relief. Could you ask permission for him to leave?" Sarah smiled. She turned to her other side. "Sorry, Chaplain, could you ask—" "Master Singh, this young man—" "Master Reader, I wonder if the benchers would mind—" "Master Deputy Treasurer, young Mr. Barton—" Langbourne looked unsympathetic. He had a voice that could fill the Court of Appeal. "What now? What happened? Did he sneeze too hard?" Tom was growing redder and redder. "In my day we had to cross our legs." "Oh," he leaned closer to the white-haired man. "Forgive me, Master Treasurer. It's a plumbing case. Could our lead appellant—" Master Treasurer had the face of a man who'd seen it all before. He smiled and waved Tom away. Tom shot from the dais like a cork from a bottle. He zoomed through the far doors, which led deeper into the main building. He didn't know his way. There was one grand room after another. A corridor lined with medieval weaponry. A room filled with tapestries. Another small law library. But where were the loos? Didn't barristers ever have to go? He went through another door, and now seemed to be backstage. The corridors were plainer and whiter, all menus on notice boards and fire extinguishers. Judging by the clattering of crockery and saucepans, he must be near the kitchens. He rounded a corner and stopped. Ahead of him was Louis, minus his jacket, talking to a plump woman with red-dyed hair and slightly grubby chef's whites. She was laughing as she listened to the porter. He had a plate of the chicken with mushroom sauce, and a fork, and was pigging himself. He sounded like he might have had some of the wine, too. All looking down their noses at me, but I'm the one who's really in charge. I know where the bodies are buried, and I know a thing or two about our students, too. When Master Treasurer's made his speech, I'm going to make one of my own. They don't know yet, but I am. And then we'll see, Maisie, won't we? Tom's heart stopped as Louis turned and saw him. Can I help you, sir? This is really out of bounds, you know. Toilet! Tom squeaked. He was starting to sound like Mouse. Louis jerked his thumb back the way Tom had come. Just off the tapestry room. They're on your left. Tom muttered thanks and ran. Gown flapping, he went back through the tapestry room, then found the loos. He ran inside and peed for Britain. The moment's relief was soon over. He had to get back before the speeches and the presentation of the mooting trophy. He made his way quickly. Heading back through the medieval corridor, he almost tripped. He looked down. There was a pink rubber washing-up glove stuck to his foot. Cursing, he pulled it off his shoe, threw it aside, and made for hall. On the dais, no one seemed to have regretted his absence. Coffee was being served, along with little dishes of chocolates and petit four. Tom ignored them. He wasn't going near another drop of liquid. He avoided Nat's eye and his grinning face. Master Treasurer was talking. I'm so pleased we were able to revive the blowing of the horn. It goes back to the 12th century, you know, right back to when the Franciscans founded this place. Yes, even before, it was a centre of law. After dinner, it's blown from the minstrel's gallery. Then I'll make my speech, and present our mooters with their prize. Becca beamed. A few minutes later, Tom saw a shadow being cast back and forth across the table. He looked up towards the gallery. So did Master Treasurer. That must be Louis now. Good chap. Though we really miss Ems, our old porter. He was with us 40 years. For a moment it seemed that a second shadow had joined the first. Master Treasurer frowned. He raised his voice. Well, come along, Louis, we're waiting. Blow the horn. There was only one shadow now, and it was still. Tom covered his ears as a deafening blast came from above. The buzz of conversation ceased, and Hall fell silent. Master Treasurer rose slowly to his feet. Good evening, my lords, ladies and gentlemen. Fellow friars. It's good to see so many of us here for our grand moot dinner. And congratulations once again to both teams on reaching our final. To Chatteridge and to... he hesitated, and someone whispered to him. To the University of the Five Counties. But a special congratulations must go to Mrs. Decker Hamilton and Dawes for their fine performances. We wish them every success in their bar course years, at the International Law School, and in Bristol. Tom blinked. So Becca would be studying with him. He wasn't sure how he felt about that. And so... Master Treasurer looked round. He lowered his voice. Where's the mooting trophy? There was silence from the rest of the table. Well, come on, where is it? Giles rose. Sorry, Master Treasurer, I'll try and find it. The Treasurer tutted. Never mind, I'll hold the fort. Giles crossed rapidly to the interior doors and disappeared. Master Treasurer raised his voice again. And so, in a moment, we shall present the Chatteridge team with our mooting trophy. This was first donated to the inn by Master Keeley in 1957. a magnificent shield engraved with the names of every winning team, until 1973, when we ran out of space. A former Lord Chief Justice and Treasurer, Master Keeley is best remembered for his contribution to the debate around hanging. He was in favour of it. He stopped. There was no sign of Giles, or of any trophy. Grimly, he went on. His generosity— Tom stared at the table. Had he drunk too much, or— the shadow seemed to be getting bigger— enabled us to ensure that our education programme and our qualifying sessions— the area around the dais was definitely growing darker— continue in the finest traditions of the bar. A human body crashed onto the bench's table. There were screams and yells up and down hall as Lewis landed right in front of the treasurer, shattering 3 coffee cups, 2 wine glasses, and several petits fours. His head had a shard of glass embedded in it and was bleeding. His mouth was wide, as if in a gasp. His eyes were open, but saw nothing. He was quite undoubtedly dead.